everyone. Right now, I'm kind of walking a tightrope because I'm going to be talking about some stuff that affects folks that I consider to be friends. But this isn't a topic I take lightly, so I'm not just going to skip it. Now, while I'm not going to be naming names, you could very easily go to Twitter and pull up references to these people by searching the appropriate hashtags. And unfortunately, we all know that telling people not to harass other people, it doesn't work, because reasonable people would never harass them from the start, and unreasonable people will ignore those requests. So we're going to skip that little disclaimer and just jump right into the video. Electronic Arts is a huge company that has repeatedly been called the worst company in the United States. And I disagree with it being the worst, although I would completely agree that it is among the worst. A huge problem with EA is that they purchase companies, promising the developers working for those companies funding for their projects and so much more. But then, any number of years later, that company is killed by EA. It's a cycle, actually. Afterwards, EA might recycle the intellectual property rights if they feel like it, give them to another studio, or just completely destroy them. If they do give those rights to another studio, it's completely detached from the creators of the franchise who got laid off or redistributed to a different studio. Now, we've only scratched the surface at this point of what makes EA, in my opinion, a bad company, but you get the point. EA is a large public corporation beholden to its shareholders. So while we have companies like Bethesda that are technically private, although they have large investors, ZeniMax Media owns them. Unlike EA, where EA's statements to the shareholders are public, we can only guess what Bethesda is thinking most of the time, based on how other companies operate in the gaming industry. But moving on to my prediction. A few years ago, and this is on YouTube, you can find it, at E3, when Bethesda was shouting, hashtag BE3, hashtag BE3, make sure to tweet about this on hashtag BE3, I was saying, this is getting very close to EA Activision territory here. And I think that either Bethesda Softworks or their corporate owners at ZeniMax Media are going to follow the route of EA and become a trashy company. That's what I said. Well, in another video before Fallout 76 was announced, I predicted that Bethesda's next big game was going to be a live service. This was easily predicted once you realized they had acquired Battlecry and integrated them as Bethesda's live service division. I'm not saying my predictions are always right. In fact, there are quite a few wrong predictions. But generally, my cynical view of the industry, born from knowing far too many people in the industry, has led me to remember and pay attention more than the average fan. So, what does EA talk have to do with Bethesda? Well, take a moment to Google the EA Game Changers and look up their little network. The way it works is if you're popular enough, you're big enough, you can organize enough people, and you evangelize enough for Electronic Arts, they'll take you under their wing, they'll provide spotlights, early access, free games. You'll become more or less an arm of EA's marketing machine whilst being an independent contractor, because that's the best way to do it. We don't actually have to hire these people, and that's the important thing. EA is the easiest of the large AAA companies to point at and show the concept of influencers and how they've changed from just fans to being valuable marketing assets. Yes, that is actually what you would call these people, these YouTubers who really like EA products. They are marketing assets. Some articles talk about when people have stepped out of line, they found themselves blacklisted by the Game Changers. But in reality, this is something that every major company from Nintendo to Activision to Ubisoft has been guilty of, especially Nintendo. Have you seen one of those horrible trailers for Anthem, The Division 2, Wildlands, where you hear these people talking in-game, you think they're NPCs, they're going to tell a story or something, but then you realize that they're players, and they're dramatizing their gameplay. Okay, I need you to sneak around back. Make sure to flank them. Make sure to report in. Stuff like that, you know? You think to yourself, how cool would that be, playing as a part of an organized squad to basically LARP some military personnel? Kids don't know that in Arma 3 there are servers that's exactly what you do every day. They just see it going on in their favorite new game that they're hyping up. And they go, oh, that's cool! It's a tool to generate excitement. For video game fans, they call this excitement hype, as if it were a good thing. But having done sales and marketing myself, I can tell you that it is excitement. It's a tool you use to get the prospective client excited. You let that excitement carry you over any potential negatives as you go through your sales loop in order to sell the product. The excitement lets them ignore the negatives. In sales, I was paid money to psychologically manipulate people. So I'm sitting here watching game studios apply the same principles onto a wide audience of children. And it's facepalm territory for me, you know what I mean? And I say children, you know, they might be anywhere between 8 and 25-year-olds, but from the perspective of marketing susceptibility, they're all children. So all of those companies I just mentioned, minus Bethesda, have been guilty at one time or another of running press events. Don't confuse a press event with a press conference, something like what you see at E3. No. A press event is a cringy thing where members of the gaming magazines, websites, YouTubers, they're all flown in free of charge, put up in a nice high-end hotel, fed meals, and brought into a room to hear an announcement from a company spokesperson. Then they're released kind of cattle style into a community room where they get an early crack at the game, whatever game that press event is celebrating. The members of the press, gaming websites, YouTubers, they're all delighted by the free perks. They are more than willing to overlook any flaws in the game. This is how AAA companies generate bias in favor of their products. Not consciously, mind you, not in every case, but rather, at the very least, the reviewers will unconsciously tie their positive experience from the free trip to the free hotel to the free food with the overall review experience, and it will result in a better review of the product. People will, either consciously or unconsciously, ignore certain flaws in the game because they are in a good mood. And that's the whole point of these review events, is to put you in a good mood. So we've identified how disgusting this stuff is when other AAA giants did it. We pointed at it as another way that mainstream game journalists can't be trusted. Although, if you check back on my Gamergate video, I actually discuss how games journalism got started in the first place, and why believing that any one point in history has corrupted games journalism is actually false. They've been corrupt from the start, and again, I explain it in the origin of games journalism, but that's a different video. Anyway, YouTubers, Twitch streamers, Instagram models, it doesn't matter what specific niche you have. After all, these people, they aren't people, they're marketing assets. They're tools for these companies. The newer vernacular of the past couple of years is influencers. You may have been thinking right now, I'm trying to portray myself as some kind of anti-YouTuber or something. I know someone posted a comment about that, like I'm trying to be an anti-YouTuber, but I assure you that I am a hypocrite. And like everyone else, I have my price. I'm just afraid that my price is higher than some free food or an all-expenses-paid trip to a Call of Duty boot camp. I'm afraid we'd have to negotiate some kind of large cash payments akin to a proper salary before I'd sell my proverbial soul. In short, I'm not worth their time because I'm not cheap. I'm cheap in other ways, but not my price. Bethesda Softworks joined the ranks of these other AAA giants during the Skyrim Special Edition launch, where they told reviewers they'd be getting copies of the game the day it launched, and not in advance. Bethesda's explanation is they wanted everyone to experience those games at the same time. And you think to yourself, is that really so bad? And I say no. Setting aside the fact that it's showing weakness, that they were afraid of advanced reviews getting in the way of their pre-orders and day one sales because, if someone didn't like their game, oh no, like the game can't stand on its own, that's the implication. But setting aside that fact, there's no problem at all with it. The real problem is Bethesda lied. You see, several YouTubers were sent advanced copies to cover the game, Skyrim Special Edition. When they said they wanted everyone to experience it at the same time, they meant except for the people they knew would cover it in a positive light, who would evangelize the product, produce excitement about the product, and excitement would convert into purchase intent. We're talking about people, and I'm not going to name names. I don't actually have any ill will against said person, but I think this is a great example. A person who would evangelize real-time door shadows as a great and sweeping feature worth the purchase. A person like that is the perfect marketing asset, a tool they can use to push units. Again, this is not a knock at the biggest and most beloved Bethesda fans on YouTube. You should never feel ashamed for loving the things you love. But you know who you are, and you are being used as a tool for marketing. You're an agent of Bethesda. Either that, or you're not on the pre-approved list, and you're out. That sounds kind of weird, right? Before I explain why this is a bad thing, let's move on to what else Bethesda did. Right before the launch of an ESO chapter, several major YouTubers were sent to a camp of sorts, where they were encouraged to play that chapter, hype it up. The camp included free lodging, food, early access to the game. If you go back to the timelines of several major Bethesda YouTubers, you can find it. Pictures of everything. See, for Bethesda, this is about building and maintaining brand loyalty. Not the strength of their games, not the quality of their games, not the features people want to see in their games, but rather giving perks to the largest and most vocal Bethesda fans, which will in turn convert other people, make them buyers. Influencers that are receptive to their way of thinking, or specifically the way of thinking they want to foster. Now you may ask, what's stopping those YouTubers from at some point being critical or negative about something Bethesda does in the future if Bethesda does do something wrong? And you have to understand that as perks build upon perks, one reaches a position like this where they're getting free stuff, free trips, and thus begins a creeping darkness. This creeping darkness is something I witnessed during a couple months of messing around with a multi-level marketing scheme. People sometimes call it a pyramid scheme, but they found a way to make these legal. And the people who don't follow the rules necessarily, well, they end up in jail. But I'm glad I only wasted a couple months on that stuff because, let's just say it was pretty bad. But if at the very, very beginning of joining one of these multi-level marketing organizations, you were very, very successful, very, very good at recruiting people, very, very good at training people, then the higher-ups in this organization, like 2 or 3 companies above you, they would take you to a party. They would tell you, we're going to set you up with your own corporation, something I was able to do for my own YouTube channel without a problem, by the way. But the ignorant people, the people who just hopped onto this train like, I'm going to be a salesman. They go, oh my God, they're doing this for me. They're giving me an opportunity. Well, in multi-level marketing schemes, once your corporation is established and you get people working under you, you are constantly subjected to the fear of loss. The fear of loss is the creeping darkness I'm talking about. You see, if you don't get your numbers up, we're going to take the contract away from you. Your company will stay yours, no problem, but we're going to take all the money in your corporate bank account and, well, you're done. They never say that, obviously, but it's implied that you understand it. So where does this MLM stuff translate into video games? Well, why do you think IGN gives safe scores? Like a 7 out of 10, which is not average, by the way, although IGN would make you think that. If the reviewer themselves actually hated the game. Like, you read the text of the reviewer is disappointed, okay? The editor, however, decides what the score is going to be. Because we can't alienate the company that advertises on our site, we can't lose access to the free review copies and invitations to press events. These kind of exclusive perks gives the influencer a feeling of investment. I'm not just talking about a person reviewing things online. I'm talking about they feel like they're part of the Bethesda family. These other YouTubers are my good friends. We all go to events together and we enjoy our love of Bethesda products together. We even talked to Pete Hines. I got to know a man who was a former boss for an advertising group. They call these groups touring crews. They go from convention to convention selling the exact same product for years. The management company will buy space at each convention months or even years in advance. And that touring crew will be able to tell you at least a year in advance where they're going to be at any given day. The thing is, you need loyalty for that kind of marketing group. You can't just be replacing people while you're on the road, especially for conventions where you sign up vendor slots with people-specific names, meaning if your ID does not match your badge, well, you're not getting in. So that the person who 6 months ago got the badge better damn well still be part of the company. It's well established that with a touring crew, you get to, as the boss, because, again, that's the person I talked to was the boss. As the boss, you get to know the spouses, the kids, immediate family, friends, anyone. You cross that professional to personal line. And in doing so, you're not just the boss of the crew, you become their friend. It's a lot harder to quit or ask for an inconvenient time off if it's from a friend rather than a boss. You know this guy. You know what he's going through. You know how you're going to inconvenience him. You're going to hurt him because you had to take personal time. You see, by crossing that professional to personal line, you're able to create a level of investment that is not possible for a normal employee. You enhance their loyalty. Now, if you're a video game player, you're going to play a game and you might go, this concept is really shit. However, if you have what's known as an enhanced bias, because you've had a great time with all these events and stuff, all your friends are fans of this, like everyone's together on this, and you're just having a blast, okay? That thing that is really shit to the average player, not really that bad, is it? Because you're remembering all the times that you had the free food and the free hotel, and the times with your friends, your fellow influencers. Perhaps as an influencer, you may never once think, if I don't do or say what is expected to me, I will lose these perks. They might start treating me like a stranger. You may never think that, even once. But that concept still exists regardless in the subconscious. It is how religions and political organizations manipulate social behaviors in their groups. When you're invited to a really cool event with your YouTuber friends, you're being groomed by the company for what is expected of you. If you've resigned yourself to the fact that YouTube is your job, and this is just a part of your job, that's cool. I'm never going to tell you what you can and can't like. I'm never going to tell you that you can't get invited to West Virginia, see Pete Hines talk about Fallout 76, and then play it with your best friends. But I'm going to look at all the pre-release hype. This excitement manufactured by grooming influencers. Look at the Fallout 76 hashtag on Twitter. Go back far enough and see all the stuff that's gone down. All the people who were invited. Yes, Bethesda has now officially joined EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Konami, and so many others in their sleazy AAA press events, where they fly you, dine you, and bed you at no cost. To build up that excitement, because excitement translates to purchase intent, and that excitement will be carried across YouTube, across Twitter, to all the prospective fans. Now, me personally, I'm going to buy Fallout 76 because I think I'm going to have a lot of fun streaming it and making YouTube videos about it. But there's that expectation on me that I'm going to do that. I don't want anyone to think that my purchase or my pre-purchase or pre-order or whatever is an endorsement by me. I will make no endorsements until I've had the opportunity to play it. Like Freedom Planet 2, I'm endorsing that because I've had the opportunity to play a couple of the demos now, and I really enjoy the game as I've been able to play it thus far, and I loved the original. So when I look at the potential release next year for Freedom Planet 2, I say yes, I endorse this product. But Fallout 76, I don't know enough about it. And anyone who does know enough about it, those who've been to these events, well, they've been heavily biased by a free plane trip, and free hotel, and free food, and getting to gather with all their friends in a real-life setting, a community room, where they play it. That is not the same as playing it in your own home. You can't translate those experiences. So, again, my opinions on Fallout 76 will be reserved until I've had the chance to play it here, when it's released. But this video is mostly a warning. Regardless if it's just me you've discovered today, or someone you've watched for years, your favorite influencers may be simply a marketing asset to Bethesda Softworks. Someone they've groomed to say the right things, to get you excited enough to buy it yourself. Now, some people may be asking me, well, where exactly was I these past couple weeks? Where was I while the Bethesda marketing assets were being flown to West Virginia? Well, I flew to California. Then I got on a boat. Or should I say a ship? I believe a ship can hold boats. Either way, I was on the ocean. My wife and I, we took a cruise to Mexico. We stopped off at Catalina Island. We spent a couple days out at sea in international waters, gambling, drinking, and having general relaxation. When I got back, I stayed in California for a couple days on business. Then I flew home to where I've been streaming Oblivion and desperately trying to meet unrelated, unspecified deadlines. You know how it is. I'll be talking more about Daggerfall, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, ESO pretty soon. There are a couple things I've wanted to talk about that got pushed out due to scheduling conflicts. Expect something about Test 3 MP, that is the Morrowind multiplayer framework, which is, at the time of speaking, fully playable. Expect a video on that next time. Either way, thank y'all for watching. Check the links on screen for more content, or check out my Twitch page. Same username as YouTube. And I'll see y'all next time.